to our second week. Hello, Ava students. Welcome to our second week of looking into some of the content in our courses. This one is one of my favorites. This one is called Mastering the Counter Argument. If you remember last week, we talked about quite a few instances of using argumentative writing and various ways and various instances. But this one is Mastering the Counter Argument Thesis. There is a thesis as you matriculate through high school and enter some of those more rigorous courses. This is one of the ones that I think will be very beneficial. It says we are going from basic to brilliant. Okay. This particular image is also very colorful and very nice. I was able to kind of put this together based off of the information inside of our course. As a matter of fact, this was one I noticed that students did tend to not score so high on. So we're going to use this to actually kind of create a lesson to see if we can get you to possibly request a reset and try to score a little higher next time now that you have this information in front of you. Okay. So again, we're going to look at the anatomy in this case of a sophisticated thesis. That image is an image of a brain, but it says it's our core claim. Basically, your core claim is your clear position. What position are you taking in this particular paper and in your thesis? And it's the counter argument thesis. Okay. You're going to need a qualifier in this case. It says it's a phrase using while or although. It acknowledges and refines or concedes an opposing view. Okay. So when we were looking at argumentative writing last week, we wanted to just persuade, persuade, persuade. In this particular case, we are also going to acknowledge that there may be some counter arguments. There may be some thoughts out there that disagree with whatever claim that I have. So we're going to acknowledge those arguments, but still use that to create a way to persuade your reader. Okay. The top three reasons, if you're still looking at that core claim, it is the top three reason roadmap. Okay. A preview of three distinct supportable reasons that will be let me see what that word says. Defended with evidence. Sorry, it's so tiny for me. Three reasons that will be defended with evidence. Okay. So remember, whenever you're trying to argue a point, you've got to have some support for that. So looking right below that section, here are your three rhetorical moves that will help move more toward clarifying and getting this particular counter argument off to the races. You're going to use the first one to acknowledge and refute, then the second one to concede, then qualify, and that third one, incorporate concession. So, very big words here: acknowledge and refute. What does that mean? You're going to validate the existence of an opposing claim before immediately proving it wrong. So, you're going to validate it. But then you still have to prove that whatever you're trying to persuade your reader to do is still the best option. Okay. Concede and then qualify. Okay. You're going to admit a little partial truth in some of the opposition. Okay. But you still have to maintain that your claim is superior. Okay. Incorporate concession. This limits the scope of the claim to address specific factual or logical concerns. Okay. And then that final piece is transformation from closed to counter argument. And if you remember the title at the top, or if you can take a look back at the title, it says we're going from basic to brilliant. Okay. So if you look at the one that's kind of grayed out, this is a closed thesis. Tuition free school or college should be implemented because it increases access, reduces debt, and benefits the economy. So this is simple. This lacks a kind of nuance, if you will. Okay. But using your counter argument thesis, while critics argue it burdens taxpayers, a targeted program for low income students expands access. It is so hard to read this and strengthens the workforce without a fiscal strain. So you're using the counter argument to further prove your point. This one is complex because it uses those complex terms like while and although, if you remember. It acknowledges the opposing viewpoints and builds credibility here. While critics argue this also is the case. Okay, so make sure you are using those complex terms. Moving beyond a closed thesis involves acknowledging the complexity of an issue. It is complex in that it has lots of facets working for or against. This process demonstrates how to incorporate opposing viewpoints and a clear roadmap to evidence to build a rhetorical credibility and stronger argument. Okay, acknowledge that there is some opposition, but of course, use that to further bring home the claim that you originally came up with that we called our core claim. If you'd like to have a copy of this, let me know. I'll send it to you. In the meantime, this is our video. Use it, hold on to it, and request a reset if you did not score so well on that particular assignment in your course. Okay? Have a great day. Bye.